Well, today is a new guitar day, and I decided to buy myself a Gibson SG. But not just any SG, it's a 2018 SG with this beautiful finish that I absolutely love. When I was looking at SGs, this is the one that appealed to me by the way it looked. But I was concerned, for all the reasons you can be concerned, do I really want to buy a 2018 SG? Last year, I did buy a 2017 Les Paul, and it was an overall good purchase. There was a couple issues I had with the guitar, nothing heartbreaking, but you know, in that vein of, hey, does Gibson really, focus on quality assurance like we want them to? So I was concerned, and I decided to pull the trigger. Okay, so I want to talk about a couple things that I'm really pleased about. First, the fit and finish on the guitar is very nice. Now, does that mean all Gibson guitars are fit and finish nice? No. This is a sample of one. This is the guitar I got. But finish-wise, I couldn't really find a flaw in it. The guitar came set up okay. I decided to finish the setup myself, but again, it wasn't because it was a bad setup. The guitar comes and it's plecked. That's how my Les Paul came. Interesting thing about Gibson though, they pleck all the guitars at every price point. So even the Gibson Faded series are plecked. If you're not familiar with what that is, plecking is basically a machine that levels the frets and makes the setup perfect. Some handwork has to be done after the machine is over. But in my experience, there's nothing about the pleck process that is so amazing that it has blown me away. But it does ensure that you get a decent guitar. Like, there's definitely no dead spots on this guitar, and the Les Paul I bought last year, there was no dead spots on that either. One interesting thing about the guitar that is also worth noting is that it has this slim tapered neck. And that term is very confusing. So here's what I can tell you that I figured out. There is the 60s style neck, the 50s style neck. The 50s neck is usually implied to be a 59, which is a slightly thinner in thickness neck than a 58 style neck, both being considered to be thick necks for sure. The 60s style neck is much thinner only being the depth, in other words, from the top of the fretboard to the back of the neck. All of the Gibsons, other than the 2015s, for the most part, are about the same width, so you don't have to worry about that. The slim taper neck is different. And here's what I will tell you if you've never tried this neck before. If you're like me and very familiar with the 60s style slim neck, this neck will feel somewhat similar. It will be about the same thickness in the way it feels, but it's got a slightly different taper. In other words, the carve, how it rounds. It feels a little less dramatic to me. If you're like me and you've played a lot of 60s necks before from the Gibson guitars, this is going to be another experience where you pick up the neck and it's slightly familiar and slightly unfamiliar, which seems to be a very consistent thing Gibson does, which is make the necks somewhat close to each other but not exact. There's another option on this guitar that I really liked. They put Grover locking keys, and I really like the fact they did locking keys, and especially since I thought it was an interesting choice. Here's why. They put locking keys on the guitar, but that's it. They didn't do any weird coil splitting or boosting, no battery compartments in the back, no weird switching, no modernization at all. Just a straight up old school Gibson SG with the old school look. Even the 61T and 61R pickups, which are kind of like a PAF, vintage style pickups, the whole guitar screams kind of vintage. And then modern locking keys, which I think is always a great way to do it. Give us all the benefits of the old, but some of the benefits of the new. The only critique I have about the tuning keys is they're kind of heavy. And you can feel it on the guitar because of another choice they did, which is they put an aluminum bridge on here. Now, that's an upgrade that even PRS has been doing lately, and I think it's smart. However, it makes the guitar even lighter, which is nice, but I can feel that there's a little bit of a neck dive here. And I think if they went with some lighter keys, maybe some hip shot open gear locking keys, that would definitely alleviate the problem. Or, given the guitar is so light, go ahead and just put a brass bridge or a steel bridge on there and balance it out better. The nut is fine, everything else seems good. I didn't have any issues with the guitar staying in tune once I did my own setup. Something else to note about this guitar, it's really impossible to compare a Gibson Les Paul to a Fender Strat or Tele by price because the Les Paul is 2.5 times the price or double the price for sure, where the SG, here's an interesting point, is almost the same price as a Strat. So let me give you an example. This Gibson SG is $1,540 US. And this Strat with rosewood fretboard is $1,450. The SG is $90 more. So they're almost the same price. Now this one you can get dual humbuckers like I have here, single coils or humbucker single, which is a nice option complement. But let's talk about features. First, for $90 more, what can you get from Gibson? We could argue this is set neck and this is bolt-on, and that might matter to you, but it didn't matter to me. However, what did matter to me was I liked having locking keys. This came stock with locking keys. I had to pay $70 to add the locking keys to my Fender. The Fender comes with a bone nut, and I like that a lot. I wish the Gibson would come with something like that as well, but it doesn't, so that's a feature there. Definitely think the block inlays are cooler than dots, and even though I don't think I'd want block inlays on my Strat, I still can recognize that that's a cost advantage. It also has a bound fretboard. Something else, again, I don't know if I'd really care if the Strat had, but we know, because Fender does have bound fretboards, that they will put a premium on that. Both use a solid 2 to 3 piece body, theirs being mahogany and Fender's being alder, maple neck versus mahogany, so it seems like a pretty fair fight. Both come with hardshell cases and some accessories. But for the sake of the review, I really wanted to point out those options comparatively. Gibson really is putting a fair priced instrument. And something I should probably mention while the trolls are typing right now, I paid for this guitar with my own money, and I'm not affiliated with Gibson in any way, or any companies in any way, and I'm a diehard Fender fan. My favorite guitar is pretty much the Strat. So it really pains me to see Gibson put out a product that I think is a better value than the Fender Stratocaster. I think the Fender Strat is being perceivably one of the best value guitars out there for being an American-made high-end guitar with all the options. But as always, I love the community here, so I'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you think the Gibson SG is a good deal? Do you think they're outrageous? But what I would tell you is I like this guitar, and based on what I can see from the reviews on this guitar, and my personal experience with guitar, I think you're pretty safe to check one out if you're interested in one. It's a good guitar for the value, for sure. Well, there you go. It's a really cool guitar, and I can't wait to keep playing it once I finish this video. And as always, I want to thank you guys for spending some time with me today. And until next time, know your gear.